Yes, Advocate Myers.
The witness doesn't have the link.
We have sent it to.
Yeah, okay. Chairperson, the witness has now joined. You can just check if his connection is stable.
Thank you, Ms. Fatima Ibrahim. We seem to have found our missing link, which is the witness. Mr. Ndou, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Apologies for getting the link late. It is not your fault. We understand that. Thank you for being on standby.
Yes.
Now invite Ms. Fatima Ibrahim to speak to you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Mr. Ndou. Can you hear me clearly?
I can, but there is an. Yes, I can, but there is an echo. After somebody speaks, there seems to be an echo. I hear two people talking.
Okay, it could be because the chair's mic was still on, but it's been switched off. Mr. Ndou, can you please state your full name for the record? Can you please state your full name for the record?
Rufuno Reginald Ndou.
Thank you, Mr. Ndou. Mr. Ndou, you have been invited, subject to the provisions of Section 16 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act, to appear before this committee as a witness and to answer questions in respect of the committee's inquiry into the removal of the Public Protector, Advocate Enquiry. Please be informed. Can you hear me, Mr. Ndou?
You know, sorry. Yes, I can, but there seems to be this echo. When you speak to me, yes.
Okay, we'll ask IT to attend to that while I continue.
Please.
Maybe before you continue, maybe just a minute, I would want him to be on us and not to miss anything. It's better we do that than fixing it as we fly. Because the challenge might be in your space as well, but let's sort that out. I will ask IT to assist on our side, but also on your side to just check that out. Is it still, do you still have an echo? Does it still take long for you to hear me?
In fact, there is a, you know, what you were saying a few seconds ago, it just finished now. It's like, you know, there is a delayed audio.
Okay, I get your point. So it's a slow motion thing.
Yes. So
Okay.
while I'm hearing your previous something that you said previously, I can hear you talking next again. So it's like there are two people talking to me at the same time.
Okay, let's do this. My name is Kubodila Richard Janji. Did you get that?
Yes, I did.
Then the slow motion is gone now. It's better now. You agree?
It's just
You
finished saying
don't-
it's better now.
You also don't speak for a long time. You also
That-
got a
that-
long pause before you say anything.
It's because Chairperson, it's because I'm still listening to what is happening in my
Okay.
ear as well.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Are you having ear things that you have put on board that might also be the challenge?
Yes, I've got headphones. Let me just take them off.
Can
and
you
see.
take them off? You will see it's going to be better.
Okay. I've taken them off.
My name is Lufuno Ndo. Can you hear me?
I've taken them off.
My name is Lufuno Ndo. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Now we have picked up the slow-mo. I think IT must assist.
Yeah,
on
there is
our
a serious
side.
problem, Chairperson.
No, we agree with you. We agree with you. We'll try and sort it out because
Please.
the last thing we want is us not hearing each other or taking
Yes.
too long. We could be here until tomorrow, and that's not our plan at all.
Yes, Chairperson.
IT, can you see what you can do to fix that? I think that's not everybody else has picked that up as a
Chairperson.
as a challenge. IT, can you see what you and they are saying it's coming from us, that we're taking too long to be heard from this room. Honorable Mahlaule.
Yes, Chairperson.
Today you are on duty.
Yes.
So, does it take long for you to hear me?
No, it takes longer to hear the witness.
Not the chairperson.
No, I'm hearing you as you speak.
Thank you. So now we're locating where the problem is. So the problem is not here. We'll ask Mr. Ndo must be assisted wherever he is so that gets sorted out, because if those on the virtual don't have the same problem as he is, it's clear where the problem is. We're not going to fix what's not broken. Mr. Ndo?
Yes.
It looks like it's faster. Can you hear me now properly?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I also can hear him as and when he speaks, Chair.
And it's not slow and so on, Mr. Mahlaule. I have got a technician today in the name of Mika Mahlaule.
No, it's no longer delayed, Chair. It's proper.
Thank you.
Chairperson.
Yes, Mr. Ndo.
Sorry, Chairperson. The precise problem I'm having is when you speak to me, I hear you, and then later your words are repeated again.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I speak twice.
Twice, yes. That is what is happening here. I'm not sure what's happening.
It's like there's a live me and a ghost me.
And yes, and a recorded feed that comes to me.
Is that still happening as we speak?
It is. I just said the last statement that I made to you now.
Just listen to the second one. I think is a better.
Advocate.
Okay, I think
I think that the chairperson,
okay,
you have
Mr.
to bear
Ndo,
with me to listen to the second one. Yes.
Mr. Ndo, let's try this for the lock out and join in again.
Okay, let me try that quickly.
Thank you. It's a janky advice. Don't know what it is. Mr. Ndo,
Chairperson,
are you back?
I'm back, Chairperson, yes.
I don't see you. Now I can see you. Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes, it's not happening anymore, Chairperson.
The ghost is gone.
It's gone. It's gone.
Welcome. Welcome
you,
to
Chairperson.
real life. Thank you. I hand over to Ms. Fatima Ibrahim.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Ndo, you're lucky that you don't need to listen to me twice this morning, but I'm going to start again from the beginning. Mr. Ndo, you have been invited, subject to the provisions of Section 16 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act of 2004, to appear before this committee as a witness and to answer questions in respect of the committee's inquiry into the removal of the Public Protector, Advocate Enquiry. Please be informed that by law, you are required to answer fully and satisfactorily all the questions lawfully put to you or to produce any documents that you are required to produce in connection with the subject matter of the inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that the answer or the documents could incriminate you or expose you to criminal or civil proceedings or damages. You are, however, protected in that evidence given before a House or committee may not be used against you in any court or place outside of Parliament, except in criminal proceedings concerning a charge of perjury or a charge relating to the evidence or documents required in these proceedings. Please be aware further that in terms of Section 17(2) of the Powers Act, a person who willfully furnishes a House or committee or makes a statement before it which is false or misleading commits an offence and is liable to a fine or to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years. Mr. Ndo, you'll now be required to take an oath or to affirm that the evidence you're about to give is truthful. Which do you prefer between the oath or affirmation?
An oath.
May I ask that you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I swear that the evidence I shall give
I swear that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Chair, the witness is now duly sworn in.
Thank you, Ms. Fatima Ibrahim, and thank you, Mr. Lufuno Ndo. I now recognize Advocate Bauer.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Mr. Ndo.
Good morning, Advocate Power.
Mr. Ndo, you deposed to an affidavit to which there are several annexures, and just for the committee's information, Mr. Ndo's in the Eastern Cape at the moment, and he hasn't been able to print a hard copy, so he's working from an electronic version, which may just cause some delay in answering of questions. Your affidavit is going to be on the screen to assist in this process, and in paragraph 2 of the affidavit, and for the record purposes, it's located at bundle 18, bundle F number, no, sorry, let me get this right. It's bundle D and it's number 20 and it's page 3466. You served at the Office of the Public Protector for a period of 19 years in various capacities, correct?
Correct.
And you had commenced employment in 1999 as a senior investigator. You were promoted as the provincial representative in Mpumalanga. You then returned to head office in 2007, where you headed the outreach branch. You subsequently moved to the service delivery branch, and then you were transferred to provincial investigations and integration at head office in the capacity of an executive manager. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. You resigned on 1 November 2018.
Correct.
Right. And that's effectively your 30-day notice period after which you leave the employee, correct?
Correct.
Right. Now, you also served in the capacities of acting chief executive officer on an occasion in the period 2016 to from 1 December 2016 to 31 January 2017, correct?
Correct.
And the evidence leaders approached you to provide evidence in respect of this matter, correct?
Correct. Correct.
And we provided you with certain files and certain files. Well, let's take this back. You have not got access to the files and correspondence and documentation from when you left the employ of the public protector, correct?
Correct.
And so we had provided you with certain emails, reports, and documentation, correct?
Correct.
And you had indicated to us that in some respects, your recollection isn't as what it should be given the time period that has elapsed.
Correct.
Right? Especially when it comes to details of the contents of reports.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes, correct.
Now, we had specifically asked you in respect of paragraph 5 to take us through the operation of provisional reports and section 7(9) notices. And you set that out in paragraph 7(9), and the committees heard evidence on the process of where provisional reports was initially issued, but subject to confidentiality embargoes, and that system was changed precisely because these reports got leaked, correct?
Correct.
Right. And then we had what was determined to be section 7(9) notices, which are issued in terms of the act to implicated parties, and together with on that section 7(9) notice, they would then be provided with portions of the evidence or the information that would be relevant to their interest when they are implicated.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes,
Right.
correct.
Now, can you just tell us, are 7(9) notices dispatched to implicated parties where there are adverse findings against them, or where they are only where there are adverse findings against them insofar as there is an expectation under the remedy that they are meant to do something?
Section 7(9) notices are dispatched to any person against whom adverse findings will be made.
So it's not dependent on the remedy or what relief is going to be sought in the remedy?
Not necessarily. It's to give the party against whom adverse findings will be made an opportunity to respond to the findings that might be made, for example.
Right. You also point out in your affidavit that there are two methodologies that you've come across that gets used when 7(9) notices are crafted in paragraphs when section 7(9) notices are issued. Can you just explain that to us? It's in paragraph 7. of your affidavit?
Yes, it would depend on the specific investigator. For example, some would go straight to drafting a section 7.9, whereas others would start with a draft report, which would make it easier then to extract a section 7.9 from the notice. But it depends on the drafting style of an investigator.
Right. And 7.9 notices are generally quality, 7.9 notices should be quality assured before they go out. Is that so?
Yes, they should.
And they would be, they should be considered by, among others, the quality assurance officials and the PP, who is generally the person who signs the 7.9 notice.
Yes.
Right. And the investigator would craft the 7.9 notice, and at the bottom of paragraph 7, you would say that there would be input from the investigator's manager, the executive manager, the task team, or the legal services.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, it would go through all these people, yes.
And once submissions are obtained pursuant to these section 7.9 notices, that would invariably result in the reports being amended or reports drafted in a particular manner.
Yes, the amendment would depend on whether there is information that would change what was contained in the section 7.9. But if there isn't, then it would go to finalizing the report.
Now, we're going to be dealing, Mr. Ndau, specifically and only with the Vrede investigation today, right?
Yes.
And you can recall that the matter came up to head office in September of October 2017. Can you maybe explain to the committee the context of that?
My recollection, Advocate Bauer, was that the investigator was investigating the matter. Advocate Silia was instructed to bring the file to head office, and that's what happened during, I think it was late September or early October, but it should be during one of those months, yes.
And there was a meeting. Can you tell us who was at this meeting?
Yes, we then had a meeting in the CEO's boardroom. It was myself, the public protector, Advocate Mkwebane, Secretary Ephraim Kabinde, the senior investigator who investigated the matter, Advocate Silia, and Advocate Mlonyeni, who had assisted Advocate Silia in the investigation.
Right. In paragraph 8 of your affidavit, you say, at this meeting, it was decided that the matter would be finalized by provincial investigations. What was your understanding?
My understanding was that the file would then be handed over to my branch, which is PII, and then would be responsible for making sure that the report is finalized and signed off.
And what did that finalized mean? What was the job going to entail?
It was to quality assure the report since it had gone through the think tank. And if we were to identify any gaps, then we would need to plug these gaps.
Okay. By that stage, the section 7.9 notice had already been issued, correct?
That's correct.
And at this meeting in the boardroom, what were you specifically concerned about?
On the day, all we did was to look for receipts for purchases that were done in respect of the Friede project. That was the only task on that day, as far as I can recall.
Why were you looking for that, Mr. Ndau?
My recollection, Advocate Bauer, was that the Free State office had indicated that they could only obtain 9 receipts for payments that had been done, and those were in respect of cattle. And as for a lot of other purchases, there were no receipts. So that is why we then had to look at the file and see what receipts had been provided.
Okay. It just struck me, you were the executive manager, PII at the time. So the Free State would have been reporting to you. Was that so?
Yes, yes.
And who was dealing with the file in your division?
At some point, it was my second in charge, Mr. Mtupi.
And he was the one who Mr. Samuel them were reporting to.
Yes, they were communicating and reporting to him directly on this matter.
When you had this meeting in the boardroom, were you involved? Were you occupied with dealing or drafting with the report at all?
You mean on the day of the meeting?
Yeah.
No, we did not even look at the report itself, as far as I can recall.
And you had a recollection that the PP hadn't looked at it at all yet. Or let me rephrase that. All you could recall was a request for the receipts file. Can you just relate that?
Can you please rephrase, Advocate Bauer, so that I get your question very clearly?
Paragraph 11, sorry.
Yes.
The meeting continued and you recalled at some point that public protector requested, or Mr. Kabinda took the receipts file.
Yes, that's my recollection, yes.
Right. And did you have all the files and the evidence with you there on the day?
My sense, Advocate Bauer, was that Advocate Celia brought the whole file.
Okay. Right. You then left the office and you receive a phone call. Can you tell us about that phone call?
Yes, on the very day that we had a meeting in the CEO's boardroom, I received a call on my cell phone from the public protector. And I recall that it was a very short phone call. And she indicated to me that as far as she was concerned, Advocate Celia was doing the bidding of the Democratic Alliance in this matter, and that she was then working for the DA. And she also indicated to me, and her words to me were, she would be happy if there would be no adverse findings in this matter.
And where were you?
My recollection is that I was already driving home.
Approximately what time of the day would that have been?
It would have been after 4:30.
Okay, and tell me, how did you know in the top of paragraph 12, you say she called you from her cell phone? How did you know it was from her cell phone?
Because when a call comes through on your cell phone, you can see who the person is who is calling.
And had you by then already considered the evidence presented or provided by the Free State?
Not yet, because we had just received the file on the very day.
And what was what did you think of the comments that were made to you?
For me, they were surprising because what the public protector is enjoined to do in terms of the law and the constitution is to be impartial and independent. And if you say to me, you would be happy if there are no adverse findings, you are actually saying that you'd be happy that we then disregard whatever the evidence says in a specific file. That is what it meant to me.
Okay. And did you inform anybody of this?
I shared it with my team afterwards. And I recall also when I was in Mpumalanga for some matter, sharing it with Mr. Botromia Sitole. And if I recall correctly, I shared it with another senior investigator in the Durban office, Mr. Skakane.
And what was the base?
So we were actually discussing other matters that were in the office. In the KZN office, for example, we had been discussing a matter where I had taken a decision based on the delegation that was given to me to review a matter. And the matter didn't die even after I reviewed it and so on. So I shared this sentiment with Mr. Skakane. When I was in Mpumalanga with Mr. Tole, we were also discussing other matters. And for me, I felt I needed to just indicate to them a discussion that I had with the public protector.
And did you inform Advocate Cilliers about this as well?
Yes, I did.
Did you understand what was relayed to you to be an instruction?
For me, I understood it to be more a desire than an instruction. And that's how I related it to everyone that I shared it with.
And was it ever repeated to you again?
No, it wasn't.
And okay, so I'm going to take you through from rough. You were away from the office during the period of April to August 2017, correct?
Yes.
And you returned in early August.
Yes, I returned around the 7th of August.
Right. Now, you are CC'd and copied into a number of emails, and I'm just going to take you through those as we go along in that. And we don't necessarily need to go, but I'll tell we'll try and put the annexures up as they come to the screen. The first one is a version of the Vrede report that is provided to you under copy of an email dated 11th August 2017, and it's LRN1 is the email. And the email below shows that the report is actually provided by Erica to Salo Mutupi, and it says attached, will sit with team early tomorrow to double check and complete certificate. Can you just, for the committee, say what is that certificate?
It would have been a certificate certifying that as far as the originator of the file, sorry, of the report, which in this case would be the Free State Office, is satisfied that they've done a proper job in terms of quality assurance, and it's fit and proper, then to be sent over to the next level that can look at it.
Okay, and so this then comes to you, and attached to that is a report which is annexed to LRN2. Now, Mr. Ndau, these copies of the reports were provided to you by us as evidence leaders, correct?
Yes, correct.
And do you have a recollection of the details of the reports in any way? In the sense that, would you know what changes were made when and how things came about?
I wouldn't recall those details, no, because these reports went through a lot of reiterations.
Okay. And so the purpose of putting these reports before the committee was simply to show that these were the reports that you would have been privy to because you were part of the emails.
Yes, correct.
At LRN 3, right? There is
Yes,
an email dated 21st of August, which says formal report Vrede ERC correction 17th August checked, Free State 21 August, and it says, dear Cello, corrections made per TT and discussed with team this morning. Thanks, Erica. What is TT?
that would be the think tank Advocate Power.
Right. And so would it be fair to say that this is a version of the report that has then come back after the think tank process on the to the team?
Yes, it would.
And that report one sees at LRN 4. And then if you go to LRN 5, you see an email that starts at the bottom of the email, which says, Mr. Nemasisi says, here with the attached report with my comment and cosmetic track changes, please check whether the remedial against regarding the conduct of the HOD should be referred to the Premier or relevant MEC. And then if you go up, is Mr. Lears that says attached corrected. Please note that in terms of the Public Service Act, the HOD of a provincial department reports to the Premier of a province. We confirmed in a meeting with the MEC that this authority was not delegated to him. We're now on the 7th of September 2017. And then at the top of the email, we see on 8th September, you provide that report to Advocate Mkubani and CC as a secretary, correct?
Correct.
Right. And attached to that email is the report which one finds at LRN 6. Correct?
Correct.
Now, on the next email one finds, which is to LRN 7. Go down. The PP on the 11th of September. No, go up a bit. We've been there. In the middle, you see the PP response on the 11th that says Nemasisi and Ndosi, my comments can you verify whether indeed this response capture the issues we raised with the Premier? And then says, and though please draft a letter to the Premier and refer to his response and request all the invoices or documentary proof which could not be sent to PRFS. Can you recall what that meant?
Yes, that related to the invoices that I indicated earlier, that the Free State office had indicated that they had not been provided with. And my recollection as well is it might also have related to vouchers. Oh, sorry, not vouchers, invoices, sorry.
Okay. And do you recall what attached to that, to this email was, it says Nemasisi and those see my comments. Can you recall what that was?
I can't recall the comments, no.
You can't recall the comments. Can we just go
No.
to paragraph 18 of your affidavit? You say that the PP responded to your email with various comments. And we've not been able to provide you with those comments.
Correct.
Right. If you go then back to LRN 7, it shows that if you go up on the email chain, you then asked Mr. Samuels to send you a copy of the Section 79 notice that was sent to the Premier.
Correct.
And presumably that was to check what Advocate Mkabane had asked you to check. Correct?
Precisely correct.
Right. Right. You then, if we go to paragraph 20 of your report, of your affidavit. Right. You then send an email to Mr. Matupi with the correspondence that the PP asked you to prepare, setting
Correct.
out the information that was still needed by Mr. Magashulu.
Correct.
Right? Right. And it's annexures 8 and 9. And if we go to annexure LRN 9, you'll see a copy of the letter that gets sent to the then Premier Magashule, asking, thanking you for response. And in paragraph 3, the further documents that is requested, that is sought. Correct?
Correct.
Right. And you had then asked, if we go back to the affidavit, letters to the premiers do you send it out, or does it get sent out by the public protector?
We would send them out. It's the signature that would then be, they would be signed off by the public protector herself, but we would send them out ourselves.
Okay, my apologies, you're correct. And I then indicated to you that certain draft task team minutes, and we don't need to go there, reflect that after the initial Section 79 notices were issued in June, a further Section 79 notice was to be issued. Can you comment on that?
My sense on this one, Advocate Bauer, was perhaps the reference to a further section 7.9 in the task team minutes would have been a reference to the letter that I had to draft to then Premier Mahashule, confirming receipt of his response, as well as indicating the information that the public protector still required.
Right. And so as far as you can recollect, was there any decision taken to send out a supplementary 7.9?
Not that I can recall, Advocate Power.
And is there any impediment to sending out a supplementary 7.9?
In terms of the law, Advocate Bauer, I don't think there is any impediment. It depends on whether further information that might have new adverse findings, for example, that implicate a person, have come to light.
It will actually only.
Just before you proceed, Mr. Ndou, just so that you speak through the chair, because at some point the chair will have to come through your defense, not through Advocate Power.
Oh,
Thank
sorry,
you.
sorry, Chairperson. Sorry, Chairperson.
Okay. And at the time, the deadline for that request was 31st October. Had you but you hadn't received a response yet.
Not yet.
And what then transpired?
Chairperson, I cannot recall whether we sent a reminder, but I recollect that at some point we did receive a response.
There was also then an internal opinion prepared, a legal opinion prepared by your senior manager, Mr. Nemasisi, where he expressed the view that the transaction was not a public-private partnership, correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
And